Hello, this is Arkeem Ra. This is Disclosure Now. I'm here with my special guest, Christy Campbell. Is that how you say her
Yes,
name?
yes.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. I discovered Christy through basically, we became friends on Facebook, probably just through mutual people that we know. And I saw the images that you draw, the pictures you draw, and I recognized stuff you were drawing. It looked familiar to me, so I decided to do an interview with you and ask you about it
Yeah,
because I thought it might help other people too to just record it.
right.
So thank you for coming on the show. I really appreciate you taking the time to come on and talk
Yeah,
to me.
thank you.
Um, I wanted to ask you basically, I guess from the start from the ground up. Where did this all start for you?
After I took the Karuna Reiki classes in 2011 is when I took like the whole year to take from Karuna. I mean, from Reiki 1 till Karuna Reiki Master. That whole year. Then after that, it seems like after the Karuna, I had my Kundalini awakening after that. It felt like in that class when she was giving me the symbols. And then like my whole root chakra, everything got really hot in the room and stuff, and it just seemed like it activated. But I didn't know that that's what that was at the time. I just thought it was just an activation she was giving me from the symbols and stuff. But it seemed like after some time, after the classes and stuff, then things started opening up for me more. Um, like intuition stuff was stronger, and I could see more things and like tune in, like I guess remote view, but not like more like seeing, or memory or something like that. Um, or tune into images and like go into the image and like look around, or my healing abilities. Like I could send the healing because at first I was just doing it like on animals and stuff. That kind of I like doing that more than on people. Really, I can do people, but animals I can just tune in and they don't think I'm being witchy with them or anything like that, because sometimes people are scared if they're sending energy and like that. So yeah, I just was doing that for a while on horses and dogs and cats and stuff, and then so that kind of helped me get comfortable with myself with doing the Reiki and everything, um, and then I think like with the alien stuff, like that started later because I didn't even really know or look into alien anything until like around 20 uh, 14 and 15 and so like that I started kind of understanding like star family and everything. I didn't even know anything about that, so I was just like um, looking at like the Star Ancestors book and the Mayan, the petroglyphs in New Mexico, and books on that. So I just figuring out everything. I guess all the doors were open in my mind. So I was just like, I was looking like into like Wicca and you know um, anything I could find to develop more in my intuition and just something I was like seeking more. I couldn't find it, so I was just looking everywhere, to try to like I still like look for something, but maybe it's in everywhere too, like because it's like a variety of everything of what I don't know. It's not like one point of what I need to find. I don't know exactly how to explain that, but it's just something in my mind that's like targeting something, but I could never find it. So I was just looking through everything, and still I can't. I haven't really found the exact thing that I guess is everything really that to do with healing and um, all that stuff.
Maybe
But
you're trying to figure out who you actually are.
maybe so, yeah, because it's like a journey, almost in a way too, to try to. Yeah, I think that is because when people tell me stuff, then it really resonates when they say, because I don't know a lot about myself with as far as like the other realities, as like Egyptian stuff and everything. You'd ask me about that, and I don't really know a whole bunch about Egyptian lifetimes, but I know that I've had them, but I think they're more, um, I don't know if I can see them if someone tells me, but I haven't seen them yet in my own discovery, So I like it when people help me so I can tune in and then find more about it with the thing. Alien stuff is easier for me. I don't know why. Than than the I don't know, like that Egyptian stuff is, I can see it, but it's really, I don't know if it's just higher up in the dimension, so it's harder for me to see so clearly. I don't know exactly.
It's all connected to these programs and extraterrestrials. Because most of the gods, well, all of the gods are just extraterrestrial beings that had advanced technology and abilities. It's more or less what they are, in my opinion.
Yeah, because I seen that there was like, I know that I have a lion, um, not a lion, but a lioness aspect, um, and then I try to go through her eyes and look around to see kind of what I do, but I just see her standing, and then like I can tune in like that, but I guess because I haven't had that many, that much experience, like looking and seeing all of what they did there, of like their life and stuff, of what they did at that time and everything. So that's probably why.
It looks to me like you have quite vivid memories, but maybe um, I guess I could just a good place to maybe go from here is to just ask you about these pictures you draw and
Yeah, yeah,
what they are.
yeah.
So I'm gonna try this out here. Um, just a second. Okay, allow, and then here it is.
Mhm. Yeah.
This is an image. What are we looking at the top here?
The top one. That's the like the praying mantis, and the symbols, they come after I draw the beings, so it's kind of like some communication, um, some like just
A
like
light language.
kind of, and it's more technical, like in a way too, that goes into the codes into your subconscious and all of that. Like it's maybe something that you recognize too, um, but it's just like some codes and to maybe like talking in a way too or something. I don't know translations. I just get it energetically and will draw those beings, and then I write that. Comes out really fast too, of what they're communicating.
I saw that John Whitberg was able to translate some of the stuff that some of the
Oh
writings
yeah,
you
with that Stargate. Yeah,
um
some of it's probably accurate, and then where, um, I mean, I think that some of it is more extraterrestrial, higher than what we would understand as well, So that's why I like to hear people translate it so I understand. Then that way I can see, oh, that I didn't even know that it meant that, So it helps me to to see that it has a deeper meaning than just a drawing there, like that too. Like those are more like healing. um I think it's more like she's laying on the table, and they're that's like an abduction happening, um and but they're doing healing on her, so those are more, um I, I don't know what that is exactly. Seems like it's tuning, like toning her, or however, like those things above her is like attuning.
maybe they're tuning her DNA and
Yeah,
altering her DNA
Yeah,
codes.
and that
Um,
the behind the mantis there is like his toolbar or something, that he would be like pulling out of his there.
so these mantis beings that you're encountering, they're bipedal, and they just have like two legs and two arms,
Yeah.
and then like a mantis head.
Mhm. Some of them, they're all different. You know, like the
Yeah,
names are
see,
different.
I've encountered ones that look more like just totally like bugs, so
Oh,
that's
okay.
interesting to me.
Mhm.
Um, I know there's definitely obviously different kinds.
Yeah.
What is this bottom image here?
That's a two praying mantis. They're more like on a ship or something. I think. Seems like that's like a tuning fork almost, like how this would be. Like a like a tuning thing, maybe for healing or so, because it's like emitting a wave there to a frequency. So um, that's what I think is like tuning, like a tuning fork almost, like that. That's what it seems like.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, so just like with those, I just see like energy. So if you get a image or feeling, then that's usually what it is. So I don't say no, that ain't it. I don't ever, because it's whatever it is to you, whatever you pick up.
So, what are we looking at here?
That's what you wanted to talk about. Is an ibis. Um,
Yeah, that is what I want to talk about mostly.
yeah, this is gonna be the in my mind what I was seeing, like the layout of the place, and it's like in a cavern, like in Turkey how they have those cavern catacomb things like that. That's what I'm seeing. Um, but it's kind of cave like in there with those tunnel things, so maybe it's underground. Maybe that isn't even thought or however you say. I say thought, um, but he might be just a projection of that too. So, because the Egyptian one, Thoth, I know he's a I like the Atlantean. He's a positive, but this one didn't seem negative. Seemed like an image of something, like a energy trying to. He didn't really have much of a emotion or anything like that, but it was like a man, like it didn't have like bird wings, so it was a bird head man, and there were owl head men there too. So that's what I was thinking. Maybe this isn't. Maybe it's something else. You know. Maybe it's not thought
Oh, there's a
either.
lot of trickery
Yeah,
happens in
tricksters
these
and stuff.
programs, so it does get confusing.
Yeah, that
I have
could.
heard that the Project Ibis does have to do with the Egyptian gods. A lot of it had to do with taking the Egyptians gods as they came into this current time frame and existence, incarnated in human form. It was a sort of I don't know. They scooped up a lot of us and put us through Project Ibis, and I was there. I don't have very many memories of it, but there's more than a few people. Well, there's like two or three people who were there that remember me. So
Yeah.
that's up.
Well, this is how I remember it. Maybe 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 you can find, um I don't know, they might sound like you resonate, but like in the rooms there, they would be like a glass wall. You could see through the wall. So those owls would walk down that hallway there, and then they would just stand there and stare at there would be like two kids in a room with the twin beds, and I just had a boy, like we was like seemed 9 8 9 years old or
By
something.
twin beds, do you mean like bunk beds or?
Twin separate, beds like that, like a two twin beds.
Because
And
I just remembered at Montauk it was bunk beds,
oh
so I
yeah,
was just curious if it was the same thing.
no, there's twin beds because we scooted them together. Me and the boy did, and sometimes because we were scared of the owls walking by, because they would just like stare in the window at us and just stand there and stare and be tapping on the glass too, waking us up. And so we would cover up
That's
under the
that's
covers,
interesting.
you
I,
know?
I
Yeah.
have a memory that I guess I've never publicly talked about before that I'll go into now, since
Mhm.
that reminds me of something that happened to me, but it's also a lot different. Maybe I have talked about this publicly. I'm not sure, but I don't think I have. Basically, I have this memory, and I talked to Penny Bradley about it, and she said she had a similar memory of it too. I don't want to misquote her, but I think she might have said something about how I don't quote me on it. I'm pretty sure I remember that she said she had a similar memory too, and it was confusing to her too. But anyway, like I said, don't quote me on that.
Yeah.
But because I don't like to say other people's testimony for them.
Right.
But anyway, I was in this terrarium thing, and I could see it was like the episode of Rick and Morty. It was exactly like it, where there's a giant creature that captured them, and they're trying to figure out how to get out of there. So they like trick some people to come in there, and it's a whole thing. Anyway, it reminded me of that. If anyone's seen that episode of Rick and Morty, it was exactly like that. And I remember that from what I recall, I was in like a bird person form, and I could see out the window that there are all these different creatures and different beings and stuff, and also another little like cages made for them, basically. And then there's this giant being, giant. I'm talking so big that I could stand inside of his pupil.
Hmm.
That's how big this being was. And I remember it shook the whole facility as it walked, and it was a bird being, a lot like me, but also totally different. It was like a hawk, like a
Yeah, I
hawk
see that.
being.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it cocked its head and looked at me just like a bird would, and looked right
Yeah.
at me. And I remember the feeling of it looking at me was like the feeling of looking God in the face, looking
Mm.
God in the eye or something like that.
Yeah.
It was very terrifying. It put the fear of God in me.
Mm.
And then I kind of like, got up and kept walking. I remember that memory. And it kind of reminds me of what you're talking about with the owls tapping on the window and stuff like that, but it wasn't a giant owl, but it's
Mm.
just sort of a similar memory, even though it's also a lot different. And I couldn't help but bring that up because
Yeah. What
I
kind of?
don't know. I don't know what it is with them wanting like enjoying watching us, but it's like also the same thing with like we got zoos and animals that we keep just to watch them and stuff, and people keep lizards and things like that. So
Yeah.
maybe it's the same idea. I don't know.
Was he kneeling down like on his knee, like that, like looking down, like?
He didn't have to kneel. He just kind of had to bend over a little bit because
Yeah.
he was taller. He was probably like where I was in the terrarium was probably a little bit below his chest, not quite to his waist, but like between his chest and his waist, so somewhere
Mm-hmm.
around there. And so yeah, he had to bend down a little bit to look at me, but he didn't have to get on his knees or anything like
Yeah,
that.
because it was like up at his level where he had to just kind of look in at
And
you.
and honestly, from what I got out of it, this is my theory on it. My opinion on it is that was the beginning of the computer program. They had turned on the computer. It was before they built all the universes and galaxies and stuff like that. And we were all the seed programs. And that being was one of the builders of the computer, using an outside, controlling an avatar from the outside of the computer to look at us
Oh yeah.
and make sure that everything's working before they actually started running the program, so to speak, is what I think. Because I do believe that we are just inside of a computer, but
Mm-hmm.
that's a whole conversation, obviously.
So you got into his eye, or where you could have got into his eye.
Yeah, I don't. Not, sorry, I didn't mean to be confusing. I was just so he was so big
Yeah, you could
that
have.
I could have stood inside of his eye. You know,
Mhm.
just a pupil of his eye. That's how big he
Yeah,
was. He was
yeah,
huge.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, so but he was a giant bird. This was a normal. These were normal size like owl people, basically, right?
Mhm. Yeah. Just with the owl head, like an owl head, and but then Thoth had the ibis looking bird, so it could be that because they were really tall, you know, but not
You,
as tall as your
it's
your guy, but still tall. They could have projected themselves as smaller, you know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's confusing, but it says kids here were born into
hmm
this program. Can you elaborate on that?
I think this is part of the project surrogate, to where they were the moms were genetically like given some. There's probably many people's DNA, but the DNA of that I had experienced was like of the Mangala DNA, and they had mixed his DNA with mine, the egg, and they extracted women's eggs, and then they implanted the Mangala DNA. Then they put it back into the girls. This is a different place. This isn't at this facility. And then those women would have the babies after 2 months. They would take the baby out and then grow it in an incubator thing, and keep monitoring or whatever they do to it, the nursing or who the doctors. I don't know what happened, but all the girls, they're just that's all they do is just be implanted with the they extract their eggs and then they implant them with the DNA, like with the Mangala. That's what I thought, Mangala. And then they just that's all they do is have the babies. So, and then they
Can
don't even wipe the memory from the women. They just give them numbing medicine, and that's it. They don't wipe out that memory of having babies. So, like, they're all traumatized. I remember just like laying there looking out at the hallway, and my friend Leah walked by, but and she had just given her eggs, like they'd taken them. So she was walking back to her room in pain, and but I guess something happened to me because I was like out of it and just seen her like walk by, and I was laying on my side. Maybe they'd just taken a baby or embryo or however at 2 months is what they take. So it's pretty pretty I guess I don't know if it's like I can look at it from a observer's perspective, so I'm not feeling like everything, and so I can heal from those things easier in that way, so because she's just like numb. I guess they i guess it happens so much she's probably used to it. So that's kind of. And then so that project is, I think it's part of like the Nazi thing, like with that Mangala, and then those scientists, and they have kids and they put them in places with adopted parents, but I think that they go to this IBIS facility to be trained in remote viewing and psychic abilities, because that's what this facility IBIS that I was seeing um, is what he's doing, because he has headphones on the kids, and he's like giving them like uh, the frequencies. It's like different frequency codes going into their brain to program them, and then he would do like light things, and then he would just send them in there to do remote viewing too for real, real, real projects. Like here we need this done, and they would just give us like real work to go and remote view things. Um, and it was like an interrogation room place like that. So
oh
would hand you the thing, like the I guess the Target or however, and all the kids would have to go and do that, like at different times, you know. So, and then they would have you, um, they would make you go lay like in the medical room too, and then I think they probably had like, um, seems like they seems like they did have like surgery on something too in the body. I don't know what they would do there. What would they do to the body if they had to open up the body? Maybe some kind of enhancement or um, I don't know. I don't
Can
know
you
what they would
can
do.
you can you explain to the viewers who Mingle is, for those of them who
That's
don't know?
Joseph Mengele, the like he goes by Dr. Green and Dr. White. He's that Nazi death doctor. That's what they call him, the death doctor, in the Nazi Germany camps, and he would just like experiment on everything. You know, just I don't. I mean, it's just like just crazy stuff. You know, that would you just disgusting. It's like disgusting stuff.
Wildly mad with power. You know, they like that. They're just the kind of caution to the wind. Just try things that even though they're torturous, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
He's
like everything.
desensitized to it.
Like so much stuff. Like he would. I mean, I don't. I think he had like twins in there, and he would do something to one to see if the other felt it, or you know, or like do just different things, experiments, maybe like starve one or see if the other one felt it, or um, all kinds of torture stuff, you know, that they took to the United States because the CIA, they, I guess they brought them over, all those Nazi scientists, and they put them in projects all over. A lot of them in Canada is what I know of that they did the mental hospitals and the laboratories and stuff, and then they continued on with those experiments and stuff too on adults. And I didn't see many. I think the kids were maybe at a mental hospital place because I've seen that too, where they that one mental hospital
Yeah.
that they left all the kids who have disabilities and they just
They made altars of us, and some of the altars actually turned out mentally disabled, mentally,
mm,
yeah, messed up. So they put
yeah,
them in mental institutions.
and they just left them there, all those kids and stuff, and they just like they just that's yeah. And then at the other place in Canada, then they did that to, you know, it's like the 40s 50s, and if you were depressed, then they would send you to a mental hospital to get a lobotomy, you know, like that's what they did. And then they would come back, and then those women that were housewives that were depressed because their husband was probably a jerk, you know, they just they sent them to the hospital, mental hospital, and they came back and they didn't even know who they were anymore. You know, it's just so stuff like that. That was really that's and then they it took them. They didn't even remember their name after they got out of there. After 30 days of being at that um, place in Canada, I forgot what it's called. I forgot what it's called. That place.
It was like
But
a tower, right? Like a skyscraper.
there was a mental hospital there in Canada that they took the adults to. That the Doctor Green and he just made himself have different names, just so people like if you're trying to remember who it was, they'd say Doctor Green is what I heard, and then you wouldn't be able to find it was Joseph Mengele, who was really the one doing all of it, or maybe it was clones of him or copies or something, you know. But
Do you remember interacting with George Bush Sr. at the IBIS facility?
um, I mean, since you just said that, then I just seen him walk in there. Um, so that kind of gave me like anxiety a little bit then, because all I have is memories that he didn't do. I don't have the bad like everybody says the negative memories of him. So, but I do see him walk past the thing, the hallway down there, walk past, and then I think he would probably, like, I see him like looking at a notebook or something, like a chart, like flipping through the chart and looking or something like that, and just checking like the progress or something on certain ones that so maybe something like that, and then given the instructions of what to do, maybe to me, since
Curious George.
because on there I had asked another channeler, Jim Charles, because I seen his picture of his daughter who passed away at 3 in this lifetime. That Robin, and I said, was I her? Because I thought, what if I was her? Because I can see through her eyes and looking up at him. So, and the channeler said that I wasn't supposed to remember that. Like, how did, like, because I was speaking, I had him channel George Bush Sr. And he said, how did you remember that? Like, you wasn't supposed to remember. And then I heard you talking to me, but I didn't think, like, I guess he said he put me in a safe place in this life, so then I wouldn't be found, by anybody. So I wasn't supposed to remember any of this, I guess, about him or anything. But I have a full memory of the 20 and back with him, of that, so, and maybe that, maybe the place that I see, because I don't know what the outside looks like, but it is in a mental hospital place like that. But I was the only kid there, so maybe he was taking me out of there. But I was like 5, so this is a different memory than IBIS, though. So I don't know. I don't want to confuse everything, but it's still the same kind of same same energy. He's
Essentially, there's programming that they put out there that is George Bush's father, and then Queen Elizabeth's mother.
mm-hmm, yeah.
Um, and I was just curious if you remembered anything about that.
About her, like, I don't know if I see that, like, I'm not as tuned into her as much as I am with him, and because I've had other lifetimes with him, like family, seeing him like as a father figure, and other times too, like when
Yeah, that's what they program us to believe. I don't. I'm not going to tell you what's real or what's real, but I highly doubt he's actually your father. That's
yeah,
that's mind control programming. They programmed
right,
us to all to believe that he's our father.
yeah, 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 because it's a lot of that, and the memories. It's like, um, even like on Mars, then he he took after another one of the 20 and back, then we went to Mars, and I feel like he was father figure there too, so it's like that, like a fatherly figure. So yeah, like, I mean, I don't know, I just know what I feel, so I don't know what is real, if that's actually, I mean, I know it's not like, I know I was taken into that 20 and back, so it's not like a biological. I think he just said to call him father, or he's like a father in that. But so he became like a father, though, because I stayed there since I was like 6 at that
It
place.
was programming to make alters more easily obey him and
Yeah,
want to
yeah,
obey him and feel
I did.
comfortable obeying him.
Exactly. That's me. Yeah. I did, because I didn't want to, because he would say, now you have to do a good job, like, make me proud of you, and, um, don't act up and do what they say, and so I would never get out of line or anything. I would do exactly what I'm told, and all the things. So I wouldn't disappoint him. That's all. That's what I would think. I would disappoint him. So yeah. So I don't know. It's it that's 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 too much of a mind scramble for me to try to think, was he this? Or I just know what I see. And then if, you know, people say he did this, he said to call him, and more people say he said to call him father, he said that to me too. Yeah, me too. So then I would think, oh, okay, I guess that's what he did then, you know.
They
But
they had hardcore programming going on from literally in the cribs that they would keep us in
hmm
to program us to believe that, you know, George Bush was father
yeah,
and Queen Elizabeth was mother.
yeah,
And it's not my testimony, it's other people's memories that they've talked about with me. My memories of Project IBIS aren't clear. The only thing that I remember about Project IBIS is I actually had something recently happen to me uh, not that long ago where me, somebody in this individual, an individual in this community, who I guess I shouldn't mention, it was me, that individual. I think John Whitberg was there, a couple other people, and we were in these like coffin things in the wall. And I remember that this is something that they'd like to do. It's common. They ripped out some of my teeth for talking. Probably talking about the programs, talking online, or I don't know, but I have that memory. And there's a it's a facility at the Pyramid of Giza. It's underneath the Pyramid of Giza. Um, so I don't know. Just I feel like that's connected to Project IBIS, but
hmm
it's all
because
confusing, right? Like
I know,
you're kind of saying like
yeah, because their
it's hard to
names,
sift through all the memories and stuff like that and
yeah,
figure out which program is what and what's real. Like, you know, they program you to think George Bush's father, so you, for the longest time you think he is, and then you got
yeah,
yourself wondering, well, is he or isn't he?
yeah,
uh, I guess that's part of the reason why we have these conversations, is because we're trying to figure out fact from fiction.
yeah, yeah, because because I mean, I know that he's not like a real father, you know, like that, but that's all that I knew because he would always check on me. Like I didn't see the mother, the queen mother. You know, I just seen him, and he was the only one that I ever seen that was like saying to call him like I'm your adopted dad now, or I'm your father now, so call me father or dad or father, not dad, father. And he would come in and read to me and give me programming, and I was like five to like 7 or 8 or something like that, in this like mental or psych ward place that's abandoned. And there's just a nurse there that just like bathes me, and then he comes in and reads a book, and it's full of programming stuff, and sits on the bed with me, and just so sweet acting, you know. And he does something, so when he would say to like separate my mind, or do like when he's making my mind switch to something else, so then I can withstand pain, you know, of doing other things sexually, you know, because I don't like, I can see it but not feel it, you know, in that way. So that's like another altar or something that that he switched to, when because he said that's gonna happen, so you need to like switch, or whatever he would say. I don't know exactly. And so I would, and then I could he would do all kinds of stuff happening, and that would be like really like calm or something, like nothing was going on. That's how it would, the energy would be like if we were still reading a book or something. And then he would get up and leave, and then the nurse would take care of me when he's gone, you know, bathing me, feeding me. And then he would come in at another time with someone else, and that person would, and I found out that I would see Aleister Crowley too, because I asked that channeler if I knew Aleister Crowley, because seen him in my mind there at a ritual. and and he came, I talked to him through the channeling, and he said that he programmed me to be able to shapeshift into a werewolf, because George Bush Sr. couldn't do it good enough to where I guess I would hold the form, or however, because he said I could switch into a werewolf, a feline, and a reptilian, but I couldn't hold the reptilian as strongly. So he said the werewolf was the most strongest of the shape shifting ability, and um, so I think that that's who would come in there and do that training too, is Alistair Crawley um, at that place. But he was also teaching me psionic abilities, so I could, when he would send me to these old men at the parties and stuff, then the action would be taking place, and after that, then I could mentally give the men a aneurysm, and nobody would even know that that happened, and I would just walk out, and then they would just be on the floor. So not every one of them I did that, um, but I would do that to whoever he told me to do that to. So yeah, that would happen. That happened from, and someone had purchased me from George Bush Senior, and it was like in a mansion, like a different place, like they moved me, and that was until I was um like um 9 years old at that place. I think for just a year, from 8 to 9 years old, and then they sent me to like a military school that was like combat, like that training for like a year. And then 11 years old, they sent me to like the Mothers of Darkness. It's just a house though. It wasn't like that castle, and it was like a house. Like, have you seen the Bates Motel movie or series? That's like that Psycho house. The Psycho
I
house.
can't say I have. Sorry.
But you just walk in up the steps, and then you just go straight up, and then the stairs, and then turn left. That's where my room was. I can like see that, and I had to stay there with two other girls, and it was just for doing the rituals, and uh, getting pregnant, and then them aborting the babies for rituals. That's all these girls did, that came there too, that visited. Like, they would bring these girls to different houses. We would have to go to different houses that were all like in a network or something like that. But I just really remember staying there at that house. And but there would be like parties, and then the men would bring in the girls all dressed up, and then that would happen. Like, they would all be laying on a table thing, and then everybody would that would happen to all the girls, the sex ritual. And then all of us, I say they because I'm looking at it through, like, I'm looking down at it happening too. So I'm not like experiencing it again either. Um, so it's like all the girls laying down, and then they're shape shifting into the reptilian and stuff like that. The the people there. So they had to, like, and it's it's like they go crazy. Like, some of them, they rip them apart, the girls too, because you'll see them on like body parts on the floor. So some of the girls didn't make it out of there. um so I don't know, maybe they were screaming or whatever. I don't know what, but like, you're taught not to scream, and to do, like, you're taught not to, like, just to be quiet, and not just, I don't know, you don't, like, definitely don't say anything, you know. So, but that happened for like 11, 12, 13, like a couple of years. And then um, um when I remember this too, this is something that came back in my memory of, like, at the end of that Mothers of Darkness time was like a graduation, is what I see. There was like a circus tent thing, and George Bush Senior and me, and I walked in with him, and then like to the right here was like a lady giving like an envelope to him, and that had like a check, and then the if I made it, if I passed the test or the top three, because they were just picking the top three girls, and just those top three girls survived, and the rest of the girls they were put on like a spinning wheel, even the mothers, and put on the spinning wheel, and then the clowns, they would throw the knives at them, and then so until they were all dead. So there was three mothers who made it and three of the girls, who made it out of all of the houses, I guess. And there was quite a few girls there and mothers. So the that I remember that. And George Bush Senior got that envelope saying that I made it at like first place or something, because he just trained me to, I guess, do like not complain and or whatever. I always did really good for him though, because it was for him, like that. That's what I remember. And so he got a big. I remember it was like a big check. I don't know the amount, but I just remember feeling like that energy, like. And then uh, he just got recognition, for good programming and stuff and all of that. Um, and then there was two other girls who made it too, and then the three mothers who made it. So, and then after that, then I got sent to like a military hangar base thing, and was trained with the tall gray for remote viewing, and then underneath the facility was the reptilian, who was helping with psionic, like learning how to withstand a psionic attack or something invading your mind. You could withstand that attack, and then you would learn to give it back, to like attack their mind back, like some other project happening, I guess. Because after we graduated that, and I seen James Brink there, he was my partner. He was sit across from me at the table with the remote viewing, and so we was always like together. I remember like we're about the same age, but I remember he was like to here, so it was like, I don't know. I was taller for some reason, but and I remember,
Time travel probably came in at a different time than you do to
yeah,
temporal displacement.
yeah, because he was little, like, and I remember like holding him like this too, like being protective of him too, because he was like a little brother or something, and because he was kind of scared. And but that I remember they would do stuff to us too to make him scared. Like say I was leaving, I was gone, to try to make him get scared, and then they would just make me mad too by saying that they did, by doing it to him. They would show like torturing him, and so I would get mad. But I was trying to help him not be so dependent on me, because we were getting in a lot of, like, we were much, because they were trying to break that bond we had. So um I don't know, but so we graduated when we was like 16 years old from there, and then I remember seeing George Bush again, senior, and he was being given 10 clones to take to space. Like he could take he got awarded 10 clones he could use like on Mars and the moon, and um, so he took me like after that ceremony, because me and James had got like the top place or an advanced place or something like that, because he got another check. And then James's owner or handler was like that German guy, um, Heimlich, or I forgot his name. It's like a Henry Kissinger kind of guy. And so I think that guy took James and his clones to Mars and the moon or something like that too. So then they would create whatever they wanted. Like they were like they were more free to do whatever they wanted, and on Mars especially, it seemed like they could, like a mad scientist almost. Bush seems to be like he would create. Uh, I don't even. He would just make warriors or something out of the clones. It was all like he would just throw them out there in battle and stuff to, but it was only for his own good too, to conquer stuff, to win things, or however. So I can't quite see clearly everything there because it's like clones, but I seen that they mix his and my DNA to make certain ones in the clones, and so he was experimenting on all of them. He had 10 of them to do whatever he wanted to with, so he could regress them, I guess, to, I guess maybe it was like if you had a clone, then maybe they could be little, like a baby. I don't know exactly.
They can regress you back to a fetus.
Yeah. So he could start off on a whole new thing, you know? So that's what's confusing with that part of it. So, yeah. After we graduated from there and we went, like, I went with George Bush Sr. to like a jump room place on a different base place. And then I remember then we was like I remember thinking Mars and the moon. And then so that's like a 20 and back thing there. So yeah. It was it's always George Bush Sr. though in there in that picture with that whole 20 and back, and then but that's my main memory. So the other ones, there's other the channeler that I spoke to. He said I had 420 and backs, and this is in this lifetime is me. They've taken me 4 different times, and but the last one it was just 5 years, not 20. So so I don't know. I don't know. He wouldn't tell me everything because he said some of it's top secret, like an alien one. So I was trying to say what, like the Greys or the reptilians, or so I was trying to figure out what that 20 and back would have been. Like maybe it was, um, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, we can look at pictures and stuff because I'm just rambling, with what I'm seeing and stuff.
No, it's okay. You're doing great. You're giving us a lot of information, a lot of pieces to the
Yeah.
puzzle. They might be a bit fragmented, but that's how
Yes.
these memories are.
I
So
know it's hard to see them
it's
all.
exactly. What is it that we're looking at here in this picture?
And so this is me and Steve. That's our Arcturian aspect, and and then just some hybrid children looking at us and stuff there.
Who's Steve?
He's my friend. This we met on Misha's group and stuff, so we've uh, we're really close and stuff, helping each other with memories and seeing things. So we're real close. He's he doesn't live here in the same town, so we just help each other, with healing. We do energy work together and all that. And we asked Ivan Teller, um, I'd asked him about our connection, and he said that we had met when we were Arcturians, and we liked each other's frequency, so we combined energy then like a twin flame. So after that, then we kind of they kind of brought us together here and that, and to look at more things, more memories that way. So yeah.
Who are the Arcturians?
They're the higher frequency, more um they're more like if you're speaking like really fast light language, that's what I hear them like speaking. The blue skin usually. And then they're just really like a high frequency, higher dimension healers, and um they're like they're just high frequency. Is what I kind of see them as. So you can ask them for the healing stuff, or they would give you more healing. You could call them if you needed healing, and then they would, they they show up for me. Yeah. I think they're like, I don't know what dimension and all that they're in, but they're high. Like I want to say 12 dimension, but it's probably not even a dimension because they're not physical. They can be non-physical, but it's like they're like light, and then um, it's just like a light, like a, I don't know,
So they're light beings that can take physical form.
maybe a little bit of physical, maybe a pure physical, but not full physical, like an image of what they would look like, because it's they're just like they're like a tone, or a frequency to me, and then they form an image for me to tune into. That they're blue, and they have the big, elongated heads like that. But they're like priestesses too, because they have on like dresses and stuff. I always draw things on them, but they always have like a big elongated skull, and they're blue. And so,
So
yeah,
this is an Arcturian right here, the
yeah,
tall guy.
yeah.
So they don't look human.
No, they're not.
So I'm confused because you're saying
Mhm.
this
Yeah,
guy here.
that's gonna be like a what he looks like, but then it's not though. Like maybe like a hybrid DNA, like
Okay.
that. Hmm.
What are we looking at in this image
Then
here?
those are Arcturians, and then that's their diamond light ship. Yeah, and then that's me there, and then so that would be like, I guess it seems like he's like somebody like uh, a partner or something. I don't know. It just feels like that, like a partner.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Okay. Um. What's this right here we're looking at?
that's me as an Octurian, and I'm like speaking on a stage to all those people around. Like, I don't know if they're human.
Is it like sort of like it's like the Star Wars kind of room where there's all sorts of little
Looks like
places?
a concert or something, like that. Like a.
Okay. Yeah. Yep. That makes sense.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah. I kind of recall that as well. That. Okay. What are we looking at here?
That is like when I think this is what we was talking about, you and me, how we go to these different places like a peacekeeper, because the tall person might be you, because there's me and then Steve, and then the tall guy, and then a shorter girl behind me. But this is like a praying mantis meeting, and then some are appearing or at the meeting as in a hologram, but some of them are physically there, or they appear to be there, or we appear to be there because we're on like a thing too. So, but we're like listening to some meeting happening. Um, yeah, it's like a peace meeting. So maybe we are going to different places like that in like a council or something.
That's
'Cause that
very
that
interesting.
tall guy seems like you. The tall guy in the back. He seems like you.
I wouldn't be surprised, honestly. Um, I really wouldn't be. Um, let's see here. What is this?
That's IBIS program there, and that's Thoth there. He's doing like the frequency thing, like the person's laying there with the light coming down on their face, and then the other ones has the headphones on, and then that's like the splitting one aspect. Then he splits into something else, like the different faces there. So that's what's happening to
Are the
like.
headphones playing tones?
Yeah, tones and frequencies that would program to create different altars, or
Yep. Okay, I've talked about this as well.
it's like it's like I feel like I want to go like a wave or something, because it's like a wave you have to follow, like a pattern or something that he's like, it's like a pattern that he's making you tune into. And then so it's always like a different pattern though, because you'll hear that and then go to this one, but then it's like a different pattern will go to this altar or something like that, so he's like creating all these altars.
Okay.
He's pushing down on, I don't know what, pushing down on a button or something.
Okay, so this is a lot of different
Yeah,
pictures right here.
that's all of them in one picture there. So that's like that. We just talked about that one. And then the girl, I think that was like an aspect of me there. And then there was a boy there too in the middle there. There's me and the boy that I roomed with there. So like in the middle there. It has the three pyramids too, so there's a lot of images that were given to tune into and view and remote view, and like look at them. Maybe these are symbols that were given to look at and tune into, um, or places or portals to go into, to put their mind into.
I wonder if John would be able to translate what this stone says here next to you.
It's like a it's like a
Because
stone, yeah,
yeah,
like
I'm
the
curious
stone
that
tablet. I don't know.
yeah, it looks like it actually says something legible.
Hmm.
And this here too. Well, all of it really. It looks like you might be writing some light language type stuff. Um. Okay, let me see here. We kind of already looked at that.
Yeah, so that's like the layout of the facility.
Oh, what's
Yeah,
this?
that's me and the boy that I roomed with. I don't know who. I don't quite know who it is in this reality. I don't know.
Okay, and then
Yeah,
this is what the
mhm.
facility will look like.
That's what the you walked in, and then you would see some of these rooms like that. You would walk through there. Yeah, and then it would be like, yeah.
Interesting.
Hmm.
Okay, so I think we might have covered all the images. Yeah, we covered all the images. Um, so I will do that, and I will. How do I stop screen sharing? Okay, there we go. Well, um, what do you have the clearest memories of as far as your lifetimes, the 4 lifetimes that you lived out there?
The George Bush 20 and back one. That's what I would think. But I can do
And
the. I wrote the whole timeline out. Whether it's that or just a projected image, it's what my memory is, anyways, of each one of them. Of the whole 20 and back. But I have glimpses of so many things, so many memories. I mean, I've helped James find his arc ship, like that. Like I didn't even know I was doing that until I'd asked Ivan Teller, like, where am I at? 'Cause I was like looking at a place. I was at some little scientist lab, like by myself, and then I was trying to figure out how to start up the Stargate, and that Stargate was going to give me access to a space arc. So I needed James Rink to come in and do. I didn't know it was his space arc until I asked Ivan Teller about it. But I needed his DNA or his information to start up the Stargate, and then we went through the Stargate and was on the ship, and then we found out that it was his ship, and he has an AI aspect that's connected to that ship. But we he did a
That's how
regression.
that's how ships work. That's how they operate. They have a pilot. The pilot's connected to them like that.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
yeah,
that
and so
lines up.
yeah, so we went in and everything was turned off, and James regressed me through this, so we have the regression, and then we looked around, and then we sat in the chairs in the middle, and we went because there was a guy in stasis, so we let him out, to ask his help, like, um, information on the ship and stuff, and he just said, like, go sit there and then put these headphones on. And so that's what we did. And then we just got like codes rolling in, like like streaming in, and we don't know what they were, but and so I remember that. And then I have other memories with James. Um, there's one where he's like, because he's regressed me, done regressions on me and stuff. So I've had um that where we've um we've seen like uh, where he was on Canis Major, and he was Brock and I was Jennifer, and I was trying to get him back to Earth, and so we had that whole memory we saw. So there's lots of stuff. All I have to do is just have someone tune in, like give me the images or something, and then kind of help me to see more, and I can help see more too, like feed it, like the whole thing. But I'm not good with like names, or like I can see, but the name of it's, unless I know, it's kind of hard to figure out. Like, well, what's your name or what's the place you're at? Then I kind of don't know names. But
Okay. Is there anything else you want
yeah,
to talk about or bring up during this interview that you think is important to share?
I don't know. I mean, pretty much everything's important to share about, but I could go on for a long time because so much. But yeah, that's probably good for now though, because it can become overwhelming, over a while. After a while, you just kind of want to talk about certain things, and then maybe another interview or something would be better,
I do want to do a Project IBIS roundtable in the near future where it'd be you, me, and maybe a few other people, a couple other people that were also at Project IBIS. So if you'd be interested in being a
Yeah,
part of that,
sure. Yeah, that'd be cool.
okay.
Hmm.
So I guess look forward to that. What I'm hoping is that we can get John Whitberg, Joseph Powell, you, myself, and then there's this other gentleman who I think his name's Nathan. I hope I'm not saying wrong, but he's a gentleman that I've been corresponding to over email. That I ended up on I did a show with him at one point, kind of
Oh yeah,
randomly got set up.
I saw that
Yeah,
the other day. That that he was on Rob's show, The Skeptic, yesterday.
uh,
It's like he like uh, it's like a CZIEK or something. This last name I forgot. Nathan, something like that.
yeah. Anyway, we'll get some people together for a round table so we can take these fragmented memories that we all have and maybe try to make more sense of them, because it is really all over the place and confusing still for me. And
Mm-hmm.
um, I can tell you though that I know that my good friend Joseph Powell has some very clear memories of IBIS,
Hmm.
and I think that you two would probably have some interesting conversation about the program if you were to talk to each other. But he's been harder to get a hold of. He's been really busy. It happens, so we'll see what happens with being able to get him on a board for that. But we'll do an IBIS roundtable in the near future. I do think that if I tried to drag on this interview longer, it probably. I feel like we covered
Me
like a
too.
good
But
introduction.
yeah, an hour's
Yeah, yeah. So I appreciate you coming on the show. Um, Yeah, it was a great interview. Your images really add a lot to the whole story, and kind of help with piecing things together, and also other people out there that might remember
Yeah.
some of the, if they're a part of the same kind of programs as you, it might help trigger some memories in some people. So I think that's always good.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you so much for coming aboard the show, Christy. Thanks to the listeners, viewers, for being a part of this as well, and for listening to Christy's testimony. This is Disclosure Now, and we are the Disclosure. Have a good night.